Minimalism has a lot of great benefits. Things like increased mental clarity, reduced stress, more free time, bigger biceps. But in this video, I wanted to focus more on the aspect of it that I really like, and that is saving money. There's a lot of different ways that you can save money with minimalism, and it improves your finances. So that's what we're going over in this video. Now, what minimalism is not supposed to be is cheap, which is what I have been from time to time, clearly looking at the thingamajig that I am sitting on. But honestly, it's because I'm very selective with what I do spend my money on, and I haven't been able to find a good stool that I like. It's gotta be adjustable. So if anybody has any recommendations, let me know in the comments. I've been looking for a couple months. I need to pull myself together here. This one's pretty simple, but it's you simply just buy less stuff. When you're a minimalist, you're very selective what you buy. So you're not just gonna buy any stool, you're gonna make sure you find the best stool, the stool that you're happy with, that brings you value. And you know, has a cushion, doesn't rock all over the place, because you know. But as a minimalist, you look at everything through that perspective, and you just simply buy less stuff, because if it's not going to be a 9 or above, it's not going to be something that you absolutely love, then you're not gonna buy it. You're not like always following trends and being consumeristic. Quality. I've also fallen down this trap before, where I've bought in cheap, or I've bought in, you know, things that are strictly on sale, where that can be a good thing and that can save you money. Kind of like this idea of minimalism and essentialism is this idea of less but better. So you might spend a little bit more on something, but it's gonna last for a lot longer. You might buy better clothes that are gonna last a lot longer, and they're not gonna wear out like immediately. That's something that I used to do a lot. Or even appliances, where you buy something cheap and it might break in 3 years as opposed to 7 years when you spend, you know, like just 20% more on a next level, something a little bit better. It can be that way with phones, it can be that way with a lot of things. So we're not always looking for the absolute best deal, but in spending a little more up front, sometimes that can end up being savings in the future. Obviously, you don't need to have the best of the best all the time, but not always going for the absolute cheapest option can end up saving you money. Less stress. One of the main benefits I've felt for minimalism is less stress and less anxiety, and both of those things are really bad for you. Like, stress is equal to smoking. I think I read in some study. I'll throw it up right here. Jeez. This is why I need something else. When I get overly stressed, I end up getting sick usually, and that hasn't happened in a while. So you can miss out days of work that way, or you can just end up making yourself sick in general, and that can have long-term expenses. So less stress means more money. Generally, you actually make money. When I first started decluttering last year sometime, I ended up making like $500 just off like the initial, like the first week of decluttering. I made a lot of money, and that's kind of just continued to happen over the last year here, where it's like, you know, 50 bucks this week, 10 bucks this week, 100 bucks this week. Just like getting rid of this random stuff that we don't really need can actually end up making you money, and you can take that money and start saving it or investing it or whatever you want to do with it. Especially if you're starting, you have like a whole house. We only had like a 1-bedroom and not that much stuff to begin with. You can easily make, I would say, $500 to $1,000 just selling stuff off around your house, which can be a great start towards an emergency fund or getting out of debt or start investing or whatever. It can just be a great, like, encouraging first step. Lifestyle inflation. You don't really have as much keeping up with the Joneses, as much lifestyle inflation as other people do, because when most people get a new job, or they get a higher paying job or a raise or like whatever, whenever they have more money, they spend more money to keep up with everybody else. When you're in college, nobody cares if you just have a room, a cheap little apartment. But as you get into this job, everybody else has a single family home, so you try to follow suit. You end up getting the new car, the new phone, the new wardrobe, you know, the new house, all these different things, trying to keep up with everybody else. Whereas when you look at it from a minimalist perspective, you don't really care about what everybody else is doing. You care about what's right for you. And if those things don't add that much value to you, but you'd rather take that money and, you know, start investing and start buying your freedom back, start working less, start doing whatever you want to do with it, for me at least, that's going to bring me a lot more joy and value. So you don't end up trying to keep up with everybody else, and that can save you a ton of money, because that lifestyle inflation, that is definitely real. You don't have to spend money to get happiness. A lot of times people equate spending money to happiness. You go out to a bar, you blow a couple $100, and that will make you happy. You buy a new car, that'll make you happy. You buy a new watch, that'll make you happy. You take this enormous, elaborate, you know, trip for a week or a vacation that takes all your savings for the year, and that will make you happy. But a lot of times that doesn't make you happy. It might make you happy for that week, that day, that 10 minutes, that hour, but it's just gonna fade away and just kind of disappear. So while I do think it's very important to spend on experiences, and that's something that we try to do, is if we're gonna buy something for Christmas or for anything else, we're gonna buy something, it's gonna be a great experience that's gonna last, as opposed to stuff. But also you realize you don't need to spend money to have a great experience. You can do that by hanging out with friends, by doing something cheap or free, going outside. There's a lot of really efficient ways and cheap ways of having a great time that don't cost money. Less impulse buying. I used to have a lot where like you kind of want something, you look it up on Amazon, oh, that's not too bad, it's 10, 20, 30, 50 bucks. You go ahead, you grab it, you throw it in the cart, you do whatever, and you just buy it, and a couple days later it just shows up, you're like, oh, what is this box? I forget what it even is. That used to happen to me a lot. And using things like the 30-day rule, where you just kind of like wait and make sure that any type of purchases, you're absolutely sure that they are necessary. And it's not just some random thing that you won't even remember that you needed, you know, a couple days from now. Lifestyle design. When you design your lifestyle and you're very conscious about every decision that you make, it can make saving money easy by setting up systems. Like if I went out and got coffee every day, that would be more expensive. Obviously people talk about all that all the time, but making coffee or tea, yes, tea too as well, can be a great way to save money. Or packing your own lunch, just being prepared and always having food around so that you don't have to go out and like buy a, you know, $10 meal when you could have a $2 meal. There's a lot of things that just by setting up systems and being prepared, you can save hundreds or thousands of dollars over the course of a year just by having systems in place. Debt. One of the main things that a lot of people shoot for when they're first getting into minimalism or financial independence is paying off debt. And when you look at your life through a minimalist like perspective, you can really focus in on your goals. And if your goal is to get out of debt in the next year, the next 5 years, and whatever it is, you can really hone in on that. And by simplifying everything in your life and saving money all these ways that we've been talking about, you can really narrow that all down and focus it on debt. And when you start paying off debt, you save a lot of money because that debt is costing you money all the time that you have it. Now, obviously some debt is good, like the debt I have on my rental properties is what allowed me to leave my job. If I paid cash for them, I'd be broke right now. But debt can also be bad when it's like consumer debt, credit card debt, even sometimes student loan debt. And like depending on what type of debt it is, it can really hinder you. So when you focus on knocking that out, it can, you know, it can really help. Earning more. I know for me, when I stopped doing like a bunch of stuff and I just really like focused in on just a few things, I started earning more. So if you have more free time because you have less commitments and you have, you know, less stress in your life, that you might be able to, you know, focus more on your job and earn more that way, or pick up a side job if that's something you want to do because you want to pay off your debt quicker or whatever. Cut your meaningless expenses. When you look at your life and you realize that Netflix and Hulu and the cable bill and maybe the Wi-Fi bill don't add anything to your life, then you're okay with cutting those out. And it's a lot more simple than the people who think that, oh, it's only 10 bucks, it's only 50 bucks, it's only 100 bucks. It's not a big difference. But when you look at it as, does it add any value to my life? And you realize that that answer is a no, it makes that very simple. And those little things do add up over time, especially when you stack these, the cooking at home, the cutting out the bill here, saving money on clothes here. When you add those all up, that's easily thousands of dollars every year if you're going from consumerism to minimalism. For me, it's actually saved me like a decent amount of money, and I was already frugal before. That is what I have here, but I do have some videos I just posted on Patreon. I might be posting some net worth and like my investment portfolio and stuff like that over there. So let me know if that's something that interests you guys. Maybe I can do some of that here as well. Let me know what type of content you guys would like to see more of. And thank you for liking and commenting and subscribing on this beautiful video. I do appreciate it. It makes a big difference and it warms the cockles of my heart. Don't know what that means, but I hear people say it, so something.